Former Weld District Court Judge Ryan Kamada, 41, pleaded guilty Tuesday afternoon to a federal felony charge for obstructing an investigation into a cocaine trafficking ring in northern Colorado. Judge William Martinez accepted Kamada's plea Tuesday in the U.S. District Court of Colorado. Kamada will remain free on bond until his sentencing 2 p.m. December 4. Kamada, of Windsor, took a plea agreement with the U.S. Attorney's Office, pleading guilty to one count of obstructing a pending investigation by the Drug Enforcement Administration between April 24, 2019, and July 15, 2019. The DEA worked with the Weld County Drug Task Force and the FBI on the investigation. In a video teleconference hearing Tuesday, Kamada explained he was the on-call judge in the evening hours of April 23, 2019, when an investigator asked him to review a search warrant for someone he knew and a mutual friend of his best friend, Jeffrey Chacon, who was hired in the summer of 2019 to serve as the assistant principal at Prairie Heights Middle School and worked as a teacher and coach in Greeley prior to that. Chacon resigned about a month after he was hired. The subject of the warrant appears to have been Alberto Beto, lawyer, a well-known businessman and philanthropist. Kamada said he recused himself from signing off on their warrant, due to his familiarity with lawyer and mutual association with Chacon. Out of fear of the impacts to Chacon's reputation, he warned Chacon to stay away from lawyer, Kamada said Tuesday. Kamada knew lawyer since high school, and the two served together on the board of directors for the Weld County Latino Chamber of Commerce, according to a stipulation of facts in the plea agreement. Kamada recused himself from the case after a task force officer pointed out to Kamada that he was friends with lawyer on Facebook, a release from the U.S. Department of Justice states. Early the next morning, Kamada called Chacon and told him that law enforcement was watching lawyer's house, car and phone, according to the release. Kamada then told Chacon to stay away from lawyer. That disclosure prompted Chacon to repeat the warning to lawyer. As a result, Chacon distanced himself from lawyer and his associates and instructed an associate of lawyers to correspond with Chacon using their work phones rather than their personal phones. Chacon pleaded guilty in November to destroying evidence in the investigation, specifically May 4 text messages between himself, lawyer and Kamada. Lawyer slowed down the pace of his operation, according to court records, and cleaned his house of evidence relating to drug activities. Chacon later asked Kamada about the investigation through an online Xbox video game, which the two played multiple times per week. Kamada said he fabricated that the investigation was ongoing even though he had no further knowledge beyond the call about the search warrant. Prior to the disclosure, on January 27, 2019, Kamada and Chacon were texting about a fight lawyer got into with another drug dealer, according to court records. Chacon told Kamada about the fight and said the second dealer was all drunk and high on coke. Kamada responded that the second dealer needs to grow up and if he wants to play big boy stuff, then he needs to be a big boy, court records state. Kamada began in his role as Weld District Court Judge January 1, 2019. Kamada has been prohibited from all contact with Chacon and lawyer as a condition of his release. Kamada appeared to be nervous through the hearing, as the judge requested multiple times for Kamada to stay still in an attempt to limit noise on the video teleconference, which was required due to the COVID-19 pandemic. John Dadai, a trial attorney with the U.S. Department of Justice's Public Integrity Section, clarified that the modified behaviors as a result of Kamada's disclosure impacted the investigation. A defendant normally faces no more than 5 years in prison, no more than $250,000 in fines, no more than 3 years of supervised release and a $100 special assessment for the charge to which Kamada pleaded guilty, but Martinez can impose a more or less severe sentence as a part of the plea agreement. Prosecutors agreed to file no other criminal charges against Kamada based on the matters already known to the government, as well as a 3-level reduction for acceptance of responsibility and a sentence at the bottom of the U.S. sentencing guidelines range. According to court records, Kamada likely faces 12–18 months of imprisonment and no fines. He faces at least 1 year of supervised release and no more than 3 years. In exchange for the prosecutor's concessions, Kamada waived his right to appeal any matter in connection with the prosecution, unless the imposed sentence is above the maximum allowable penalty, exceeds the guideline range for the total offense level, or the government appeals the sentence. Michael Bender of the Denver law firm Perkins Coie argued for Kamada to remain free on bond until his sentencing by citing his cooperation so far with the court. Kamada had to surrender his passport and has enormous ties to Weld County and across the state, Bender said. Governor John Hickenlooper in 2018 appointed Kamada to succeed Elizabeth Strobel as Weld District Court Judge. Prior to taking the District Court Judge position, Kamada served as a Weld County magistrate starting in 2015. He resigned August 20, 2019, a day before Greeley police released news of lawyer's indictment and the arrest of some of his associates. The investigation began in October 2018 after police learned lawyer was involved in a cocaine distribution ring in the Greeley area. Investigators learned lawyer was selling large amounts of the drug at his office, 3400 16th Street, Suite, in Greeley, or at his house. Deals were also made at various Greeley businesses. Greeley Police Commander Steve Black, head of the Weld County Drug Task Force, said investigators wiretapped lawyer's office and were authorized by court order to establish video and audio surveillance from within lawyer's office. We would hear drug deals being arranged, he said. We would see somebody go to his office and then they'd later be stopped and they'd be holding cocaine. No one was arrested following the execution of the search warrants, suggesting lawyer and others successfully destroyed or removed evidence targeted by investigators. Black said they found cocaine residue in lawyer's office and money in his home. Black said Kamada's disclosure to Chacon could have meant more trouble than the destruction or removal of evidence. An undercover officer was working the case. If a target becomes aware of police involvement in a case, he could start viewing the undercover officer with suspicion, or if the undercover officer were to say or do something that could raise alarm, a broken bar that could obviously put them in danger, Black said. If the motivation is significant enough, Black said, the targets of a search warrant could also prepare to do physical harm to officers executing the warrant. The Weld County Grand Jury convened July 11, 2019, to investigate the trafficking and indicted 19 suspects including Lawyer and Chacon on 62 felony counts. Lawyer was sentenced in June to serve 10 years in prison after pleading guilty to 1 count of conspiracy to possess with the intent to distribute a controlled substance, a Class 1 drug felony, and conspiracy to money launder, a Class 4 felony. He originally faced 21 charges and made a plea agreement with prosecutors. Update. As of February 7, 2021. According to the court docket, Kamada is being given extended vacation from criminal prosecution. Order as to Ryan Kamada, granting the defendant's unopposed motion to continue sentencing. The defendant's motion is granted for good cause shown. The sentencing hearing set for May 19, 2021 is hereby vacated and reset to July 28, 2021 at 9:30 a.m. in courtroom 801. So ordered by Judge William J. Martinez.